Welcome back to another video. This one is actually a lot different than my usual content. We're going to be looking at what's wrong with AQ3D. First, I'll point out that AQ3D is an indie game, so it doesn't have a huge backing similar to some of the other big mobile MMOs. However, we have seen that indie games have been able to flourish in this generation. So what's keeping AQ3D from growing? I'm going to be touching on some of those points in this video. Let's take a look at how many players are online right now as of the filming of this video. Right now there are 1,122 players online. This is including all servers, and this is through mobile and Steam. These numbers might seem low, but this is the average number online at one time. Now you can have up to 1,500, or during live events it can even go up to 2,000. Now you may be asking yourself if this is a valid source or not, but it is. This information comes directly from the game server's API. Next, you may ask yourself, why are the numbers so low? And there are multiple reasons why. Starting with the smallest reason first, the character models. Now, I have no problem with the character models, but I'm also used to the character models, so for me, this is not a big issue. However, there are a lot of people who started playing the game and then just got burned out or just stopped playing, and I've heard multiple people talk about the ugly character model. Again, I personally have no issue with the character model, but a lot of people do have an issue with it, so this is perhaps something they might need to take another look at. Next is the stats. Now, people like to customize their stats based on their play style. However, in AQ3D, that is not really a good way to go. Largely, the best stat is the attack. So you'd want to build your build around the attack. So this really, the only difference you could do is between armor and evasion. That's largely the only difference that you could do. Otherwise, there's no variation to the stat builds. So even though this is a minor issue, this is still an issue. Next issue is scaling, and this has pros and cons. So I did a poll on my Discord server just to see what the community felt about scaling. These are the results right here. As you can see, most people prefer that it sticks to seasonal areas, not to open world or story-based stuff. The first con with scaling is it locks players out of content. I'm going to be using this place as an example. Now, here's a level 17. This area is a level 18 area. So you can start this area at level 18. You'd be going up against level 17 mobs, with some being more difficult because they're intended to be taken down by multiple people, which is fine. That's understandable. Well, you can come back here at a higher level and then completely destroy that boss, that world boss. But then you have things like that. Here's another one right here, level 17. So you could defeat this right here, which is great because things like this are used in the story, so people can still progress through the story. However, then you have this side content, this thing right here. Now, this is intended to be for level 18 plus, and it's supposed to be extremely hard, and it's also supposed to be 5-player. The problem is, with the lack of players playing in this zone, nobody will ever be playing this again, or at least very rarely. And this person here is a scaled area. Look at the scale of this thing. It's one level above me. Not saying I can't defeat it, just saying it's not worth my time to defeat this thing, because he does not. I'll just give an example. He's barely taking a dent when I really should be ripping through this thing, because this is a level 18 zone, and this is the first area where scaling really causes an issue, is that a lot of content is locked behind the scaling wall. Another problem with scaling is the fact that when you are ranking up and getting stronger and stronger, you should feel more powerful, but it's the exact opposite. The higher you get, like at level 37, I'm doing less damage to this thing than I would be if I was level 20 because of the scaling system. So this is where scaling causes an issue. Is the whole point of leveling up and getting stronger is so that you can take out your opponents quicker, but with the scaling system, this completely devoids that, which is one of the major issues with scaling. Now there are some pros to the scaling system, first of which is the scaled items. These are items that scale to your level because they're dropped by enemies that scale. And so these can come in really handy. Instead of having to farm for a really difficult item to get, you could simply farm for some scaled items and make it a whole lot easier on yourself. Another pro with scaling is the fact that you can run certain dungeons and get great XP or class XP. If they wish to maintain scaling in dungeons, then at least they could offer the option to run a public dungeon in scaled or unscaled, similar to the option you get when you enter a private dungeon. Another major issue that we face is the lack of classes. Now, if you've ever played AQ Worlds, you know they have a slew of classes. By the time that game was 6 years old, they had like 80 classes to choose from. And we still only have this very small number. Now, yes, we are going to be getting new classes, but it's a long, slow process. So it's not like we're going to be getting a new class every month. So we're still very, very limited when it comes to classes. And a couple issue that goes along with this, an issue that really couples with this perfectly, is the fact that you unlock classes through a daily. You can only do one class training quest each day, and it's a daily thing. So you can't farm for your classes like you can for most of AQ World classes, and this is something that also really hurt the game, because I understand they tried to do this to, make it slower to get the class or something, but this is not the way to go, and this really affected farming for a class. When they recently came out with a class skin, they had released it. This is it right here, and they released it through dragon crystals instead of allowing it to be a farmable skin, and this was another big issue that a lot of players had a problem with, and understandably so. I am hoping that from now on, when they come out with classes, they are not going to be through some kind of daily system, because this ultimately does not help the game at all, and they need to really pump out a ton of classes. This brings us to the next big major issue, which is a reason why I don't log in every day. I do rank up my classes, but largely only because there's nothing else to do. We don't have factions or reputations like we do in AQ World. They just recently came out with a new reputation, and this is something that is progression. This is what AQ3D lacks desperately, is there is no progression. Once you've got to the max cap and you're satisfied with the amount of ranks that your class has, or the amount of stars that you have for your class, and you don't really need more or care if you get more, because it's just largely cosmetic, there is no reason for you to log in. And this is what the major problem is they need more progression. We need to get factions or a way to record factions and reputations, because right now we don't. And we need a reason to log in, and not just log in, but to play every day, which is something that we desperately lack. The major initiative right now to log in and play every day is your dailies and cosmetic items. But again, they're only cosmetic, they don't provide stats, so this is also limited for people who don't want more cosmetics or don't even have room for cosmetics because they have lack of inventory or bank space. The final issue, which is probably the most important, is combat. And this is something I've seen a lot of people mention over the years why they don't play the game, is they don't like the 4-button combat, or the combat feels stale or bland, it's unexciting. I'm used to the combat system, so for me, it's not something I had noticed on a personal level. However, taking a look at games like Diablo and other games that have come out in the last couple years that are super fun combat and really engaging, they look great, the animations look great, and it's a lot of fun to play. Then you play a game like this and you suddenly realize how turn-based it is. It's not like a hack and slash, like an action MMO. So the combat needs to change in such a way to make it exciting, to look great, to be fun, and engaging so that you want to fight, because that's the majority of what you're doing in this game. This combat system works great for 2D games, but not for 3D. It was actually a friend of mine who explained how amazing a new combat system would be. A lot of the issues that I pointed out in this video actually came from other people's point of views, not my own, because playing this game for so long, I'm not really aware of these issues until I see it through somebody else's eyes, like the character models. To me, it was never an issue, but from somebody coming in, I can see how it would be. This video is focusing on the issues of the game. That does not mean that there are not a lot of positive stuff that is going for the game. Number one is they have a lot of awesome cosmetics. They've got some great pets, some travel forms. Some of the quests are really fun. This community is the best community I've ever played with. So in no way am I trying to downgrade the value of the game, but I just wanted to spotlight issues that have been brought up time and time again, in hopes that maybe one day those issues will not exist. If you guys have not gone and checked out the 𝐈𝐒𝐿 saga, I would definitely recommend doing so. That is it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.